Alright, Shalom Israel, this is the brother Moth coming at you with another video today. Today's topic that I'm going over might be a little controversial. It might get some people mad, it might get some people happy that they finally got the edification, but it's something that needs to be addressed. Just like if the earth was a globe or if it was flat according to the scriptures, we need to know. Alright, the same as if we really need to flee Babylon or not. These are serious topics. But the topic that I'm going to be addressing today, and is commonly heard of, is the mark of the beast. Because contrary to popular belief, most people, and then a lot of, and sadly it's trickled down into the Israelite community, believe that the mark of the beast is a device by the size of a grain of rice. And it's sadly that people out here are teaching that people's salvation is based upon that. You got brothers that are in Israel that are out there teaching that, don't get this chip, thou shalt not get chipped, don't get the chip. And it's funny that nowhere else in the Bible, throughout any of the major prophets, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezra, none of them spoke about a chip or that their salvation, Israel's salvation, will be based upon rejecting some type of device in the last days. Only when you get to the book of Revelation chapter 13, 14, and 15, we hear about the mark of the beast, which a lot of people don't realize is that it's talking about Esau'S dominancy of world power from the Roman Empire into America. And it's basically going into its influence on how he pushes it through the Illuminati, or what we call his elite, the wise men of Edom, the bankers, through America. And its petrodollar is forcing its agenda on the other nations, just like how Rome did. That's how come when you read the scriptures, Revelations the 13th chapter, right above, before it starts talking about the beast, the mark and the right hand, it's saying that anybody who did not wish to have worship the image should be killed. And that's talking about the world leaders. People like Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, people who reject the New World Order, they are killed. And that's how come when you read the book of Revelations, the 18th chapter, I believe it's the 3rd verse, it says the nations have suffered through the wine of the wrath of her fornication, because through the elites, which is Lucifer in the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, through the elites, which is the king of Babylon, America, they use America and her military to force the democracy on the other nations. And just like how Rome exercised its power. This is why when you read up in Revelations, the 13th chapter, it says that he exercises all the power of the beast that was before him, which was Rome. And this and with also they want to get simple. Some people be like, oh, Karagma, and the stamp. Well, if you realize that same beast that is following after, you go to Daniel's, it says the same exact thing. It mentions the 4th beast, in the book of Daniel's, which is the Roman Empire. And then when you read Daniel 7 and 8, it speaks about the little horn, which is Babylon, exercising the same power. But you realize it said that the Romans stamped the residue of on the people, on the provinces that they conquered, meaning that they taxed and they made other kingdoms basically follow the Roman influence and laws and policies, just like the bankers do on the other nations. And the nations that do resist, they are killed. So that's what it's talking about. So it's partaking in Esau's Roman American dominancy and sins. Because it also trickles down to 2/3 of our people, because off the branch of the Roman Empire brought in what? Christianity. White Jesus. Jesus is white. Christmas. Celebrate your birthday, Halloween, all these pagan days, we are not to partake in. That's why the scriptures, it mentions in Revelation 13, you realize it's optional. It says one in the right hand and one or in the forehead, because the nations, they accept America's philosophies from the banking families through whether the United Nations or what they also set up as the Council on Foreign Relations. And that's how they're going to set up this new Nimrodic type system to bring all nations together, which is a sin. So I'm going to show you in the scriptures that the mark of the beast is a sin, that the right hand represents an oath, making an oath unto the beast. The forehead represents the philosophy, and the image is representing the kings of the other nations participating in the trade with the petrodollar so they can make gain. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that and cut this whole nonsense of this microchip thing, man, because there is not gonna be no microchip. And for you brothers that do teach the microchip, I just gotta ask you a question. Do you realize that you're adding to the word of the Lord? Because by you saying that if somebody takes a chip, that you're saying that that Israelite salvation is based upon turning on this device, when the scripture said that no weapon that is formed against Israel shall prosper. So you're telling me we went through all this hell, we have faith in Christ, we kept the law, statutes, and commandments, and now that Esau rounded up a brother and inserted something into his hand, now he doesn't go to the kingdom of heaven? That's almost blasphemy. All right, you're going against the Holy Scriptures. When you read the book of Malachi, the 4th chapter, it speaks about the day of the Lord. Okay, how the day will come that shall burn as an oven. But when you get to the 4th verse, it says, remember ye the law of Moses. That's the last book in the Old Testament. Malachi never even mentioned a mark of the beast coming. When we read Ezra, the 15th chapter, okay, I believe it's Ezra 15 verses 24 to 26. The Lord said he's coming back to those, woe to you who sin. He didn't say woe to you that have a microchip. Ezra didn't even mention that a device was going to be going on. All right, so you brothers out here, you guys are teaching a Christian futurist philosophy. And I don't blame you, because a lot of your elders go to Gentiles for breakdowns. Okay, they go to your Alex Jones and your Aaron Russo's, but they don't stick with the scriptures. Okay, and that's another problem with these camps that teach this, is that they never give you precepts. They just read Revelations chapter 13 verses 16 and 17, and they tell you it's a mark of the beast, it's a chip, and that's it. They don't even show you the precepts. When Nehemiah the 8th chapter says that you have to make the sense of the matter. Okay, if you're going to read it, it has to make sense. How does it make sense? Isaiah. Precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, and show a little history to back up, you know, how the Bible ties in with everything. But you guys don't do that. Okay, so in this lesson, you brothers that really want the understanding, you're going to get the precepts on the right hand. We're going to go into the history, and we're going to prove that the mark of the beast is partaken in America's sins from Rome that's trickled all the way back to ancient Babylon. And that's why this place is known as Babylon the Great. And anybody who participates in it will be destroyed. All right, so let's get into the Holy Scriptures, man. And before I even get started in this video, for y'all to try to get simple might say, oh, he's trying to condone it. No way in shape or form am I condoning to get anything inserted. Just because I'm telling you that the mark of the beast is not the chip, I'm not saying that it is okay, because we are to be Torah observant, and the scriptures teach us that we should not put no cutting in our flesh. Okay, so don't get simple. I'm not condoning that. All right, so let's get into the scriptures. Let's get to the topic at hand. Let's get Revelation chapter 14. This is Revelation chapter 14 verse 8. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So you should know by now that this right here is talking about the United States of America. Okay, when it said that she maketh all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, is because she forces her policies through the bankers, okay, on other countries. Okay, and if these countries don't comply to her rules, she destroys them. She puts propaganda, so they got weapons of mass destruction, and then she uses her military might and destroys and destabilizes your country and sets up her own democracy in your country. Verse 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his right hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture, into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And their smoke and their torment shall ascend up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. But check this out, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes that's been scattered from Jerusalem all the way down through Africa, throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, it says the Caribbean, Europe. It says, and here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and faith of Yahweh Shai. So it's saying that whoever had the mark of the beast while Babylon is fallen is going to be destroyed right along with Babylon. But now let's jump to Revelations 18 and let's see what it says. Revelations chapter 18 verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. We just read this in Revelations the 14th chapter. Remember, those that had the beast are going to be destroyed right along while Babylon is fallen. Okay, verse 3. For all nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And what? And the kings, that's the all, okay? And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants, through the petrodollar, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Here's the point right here. Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, which is us, the Israelites. It says that ye be not what? Partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. But wait, when we read Revelations the 14th chapter, it said any man that had the beast, the mark of the beast, was going to be destroyed. But here it says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive none of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. So the mark of the beast is referring to sins. I know that's not good enough for some of y'all. Let's get the book of Isaiah. Let's show you the comparison that the mark of the beast is being joined onto Esau's system. This is Isaiah chapter 13 verse 1. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. So now, this Babylon here is not talking about the ancient Babylon, because when you read down, it speaks about how the kings of the earth are gathered against her, and they're going to destroy her, and it's the day of the Lord. When ancient Babylon was destroyed with Nebuchadnezzar, that was not the day of the Lord. That was not the final judgment of the Lord. Now, I'm going to get straight to the point to prove that it's talking about sin, that the Most High is coming back to kill, not people that got some chip. This is Isaiah chapter 13 verse 1. I'm going to read it again. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. So now this is talking about Babylon, all right? America. Verse 9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. And what? And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Isaiah didn't say that there will be people that has a chip in their hand. He said, and the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine, which cuts people that think that the moon gets its light from the sun and all that science stuff. But that's a whole nother topic. Verse 11. And I will punish the wicked. What? I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. So the Most High is not saying that he's going to destroy people in Babylon for having a chip in the book of Isaiah. He's saying he's destroying them for sins, for partaking it. Let's prove it. Let's jump down to verse 15. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So if you're joined onto Babylon, you're taking part in her dominancy, her economy, or her sins, guess what? The Lord said you're just as bad as her, and you're helping her thrive and her wickedness thrive throughout the earth, and you too will be destroyed. That's the mark of the beast. All right. So now that we understand that it's talking about sin, the Most High is coming back to kill those who sin. Okay, in America. All right. He didn't say that there was going to be a chip from Isaiah, Malachi, any other prophets. Ezekiel, when he saw Russia coming into the land of Israel, he didn't say that people was having chips in their hand or nothing like that. So now let's go to the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter, and get a clear understanding of this Roman, Edomite, American dominancy, okay, over the nations through the petrodollar, to prove that the mark of the beast is talking about America forcing its policies on the nations. Revelations chapter 13 verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and he causeth the earth and them that dwell in him to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now, what is the first beast? When you read Revelations chapter 13, the first 4 verses, Rome, okay? The same fourth beast that we read about in Daniel's the 7th chapter, okay, in the 7th verse. That's the Roman Empire. So it says that America, when she comes, she's going to exercise all the power of the first beast, which is the military might. All right, that's how Rome stretched its power. It used to conquer lands, and then it used to set up its democracy, or its like how a U.S. sets up its embassy and all that in the country. It would set up their basically their government policies in that country, like Carthagena when they went to North Africa, Israel. Even when you read the book of Luke, you hear about how we had to pay taxes to the Romans. Okay, the same thing as America. You have to pay taxes. She goes into the other countries. She drops the bombs. She's exercising all the powers of the Roman Empire. The same way that the ancient Romans got destroyed, is the same way America's going to be destroyed, because our military spread too thin. This is what it's talking about. This ain't talking about chips and all this freaking get a tattoo and freaking barcode and all that. You guys are simple, man. And a lot of y'all are teaching a Christianity futurist doctrine. Okay? That goes back to Christianity. That's why some of your elders are the same guys that taught that the year 2000 was going to end. That goes back to the Gentiles. The scriptures say that the other nations can't break down the Bible. It says that you got to come to the Israelites. It said the other nations have not known the precepts. So why am I going to Alex Jones to understand what this is when we're Israel should be dealing with the Bible? But anyway, back to Revelations chapter 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. What is the dragon? Esau, the same dragon that we read about in Revelations the 12th chapter and the 3rd verse. But he's called the great red dragon, because so-called white people are not white, they're red. Okay, that's why he's called the dragon and red. Okay, it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and he causes all the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And that's America did that. Okay, when you look at Vietnam, what they did with Japan and Iraq, they dropped bombs. The fire is talking about military might. This is how come when you read the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, it says that, is this the man that did shake kingdoms? Because that's what Esau does. When you don't comply to the New World Order and his dominancy on the earth, they declare war on you. All right, it says, verse 14, he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. Yeah, and that's how the bankers are doing it. They're doing it. They're bringing back Rome through America. Okay, and they're saying that you have to trade through what? The petrodollar. That's why the bankers, that's why they had the Federal Reserve Act. So the bankers can have control of the central bank. So when nations use the petrodollar through oil transport, okay, that they would get their money. And also when they put the nations in debt, they will force their policies and their rules, and they'll buy up world leaders and set up their one world government, just like the New World Order. This is why they have a Council of Foreign Relations. Why they call it the Council of Foreign Relations is when America tells other nations how to govern the things. Why? Because those nations are basically subject to America through the petrodollar. Okay? All right, now this is the point right here. Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast? Trade. Okay? The stock market. Okay? This is how they make their money, through profit onto the other nations. Okay, let's prove that. This is Psalm 73, and I'm going to read verse 12. Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Who's the ungodly? The other nations. Who are increasing in riches now that Israel has fallen? Okay, the other nations. Okay, that's why the Lord said that the nations are in their salvation. And people try to say, oh, well, that's talking about, in Romans, the 11th chapter, that's talking about Israelite foreigners. Then why is it saying in the verse after that, if salvation be what? The riches of the Gentiles and the riches of the world? Because now that the Most High punished Israel, he made us the tail and the other nations the head. Okay, so that they have when they trade and they profit, they succeed. Okay, because the Most High is giving them a time to rule. That's why Christ said until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. We're approaching the end of their salvation, which means rulership over the earth. But Israel will be saved in the everlasting salvation, which means everlasting rulership. So I'm going to read that again. Behold, these are ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches, which are the other nations. Verse 18. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castest them down into destruction. And this is going to happen when Christ makes his second return. Okay? Their salvation is going to end when the King of Israel returns back. Okay? How are they brought into desolation as in a moment? Did not we, when we read the scriptures, it said, for in 1 hour America shall, for in 1 hour the destruction of Babylon came. Okay? As in a moment, they are utterly consumed with terrors. This is the point. As a dream when one waketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt what? Despise their image. Who was the Lord that, who was this in the scriptures that it said that the Lord was going to come and wake up to and disappoint them? It was the other nations. When you read Isaiah, I believe it's Isaiah chapter 29. Okay? It said that he was going to awake and take away the salvation from the other nations and give it back to Israel because they fought against Mount Zion. Okay? So that's what it's talking about. The other nations trading and making money. And this is how come when we read the book of Revelations, the 11th chapter, it speaks about they saw our dead bodies in the street of the great city. That's the Israelites. And it says those of the nations and the tongues rejoiced and they gave gifts to one another. What is that talking about? In America, what was founded in Manhattan? The stock market. It was funded off of trading Israelites and gold and silver with the other nations, the Arabs, the Africans, everybody. That's how the stock market funded. And the Illuminati, which is the bankers, they hijacked that, and now they're using it to their advantage to make all nations subject to who? The Edomite New World Order. This is how come when you read Revelations 13:15, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Joined by the host of RT's Kaiser Report, Max Kaiser. Max, good evening. Thanks for coming on. We were hearing there that China looks set then to challenge the petrodollar. Why does Beijing feel the need to do this?
Well, first of all, they're very brave to do this because countries that have tried to exit the oil dollar matrix have met terrible ends. Of course, Saddam Hussein wanted to trade oil in euros, so he was killed. You had Muammar Gaddafi wanted to trade his energy in something other than US dollars. He was killed. So the track record here is pretty dire. So kudos to China for taking this project on. And of course, they are rumored to be the big buyer in the Aramco offering of their state oil facilities coming down the pike. So this makes sense in a geopolitical sense in terms of you've got China and Russia and the Saudis are looking to escape the US dollar hegemony. They're looking to de-dollarize. That's a concept we see all over the world right now as countries want to escape from the U.S. military-industrial complex. These countries around the world are tired of funding America's military adventurism by being a party to the empire of debt, as it's known around the world, the U.S. dollar. and they want to split off. They want their autonomy. China wants autonomy. Russia wants autonomy. Iran wants autonomy. They don't want to be ruled over by the U.S. dollar anymore. So this gives them away this contract, futures contract based in yuan for oil, convertible into gold. It means that these countries can finally, and it's been in place since the end of World War II, escape the Bretton Woods U.S. dollar hegemony, empire of date, supremacy, world reserve currency that is the U.S. dollar, and we're in a new beginning, I think.
How did Winston speak? All that money they put into the propaganda. Okay, that's what they did to Saddam Hussein. They said that what he had weapons of mass destruction, and they invaded it. That's what they did with Vietnam. Okay, that's what they did with Libya. Okay, that's why they killed Abraham Lincoln, because he didn't convert over to the bankers. Anybody who does not, this is why they tried to kill the president of Venezuela. You know, Venezuela is sitting on a lot of oil, you know, and the bankers want that oil. And isn't it so funny that they made an assassination attempt on the president of Venezuela? Because why he was not complying, he wanted to trade oil through euros and drop the petrodollar. And this is going to lead to World War III. Okay, this is why Russia and China is not going to participate in the New World Order, known as Gog and Magog, and they're going to drop the petrodollar. They're going to drop the market of beasts. They're not going to trade no more with Babylon, and they're going to set up their own thing, which is going to get the bankers mad. That's why when you read Revelations, the 16th chapter, it said, these be the spirit of devils that go unto the kings of the earth to gather them to battle the day. And then when you go to Revelations 20, it says Gog and Magog, which is Russia and China, will stop them. That's why Russia and China is investing in gold. That's why Russia said that their main goal right now is to drop the dollar, because Babylon is falling. The nations are turning against it. That's why Saudi Arabia said that they're no more going to trade oil with America no more. Okay? Because they did that with Nixon. That's how they even got hold of the petrodollar with Saudi Arabia and that oil. Okay? So if Saudi Arabia teams up with Iran and Russia, and if Saudi Arabia said that Russia could even bring a military base there, you know this war is going to be something else. And that's what this is talking about. Got y'all out here scared about chips and stuff, man. Us as Israel, in the meantime, we're supposed to be keeping the law, statutes, and commandments with faith, governing our families, having faith in Yahweh Bar Hashem, Yahweh Shai, trying to teach, try to get others of our nation to repentance, okay? Make the nation see who we are. That's the only thing we have to do, okay? We don't have to be worrying about nothing else. Whether they kill us or not, if we're meant to be in the kingdom of heaven, if our name is written in the book of life, nothing, not even a little grain of rice, a little device about the size of a grain of rice, could take that from you. Now we get to the topic that's really at hand. Verse 16. And he caused it all, which you should know right now who the all is. All the kings of the earth. He caused it all, both small and great. Venezuela is a poor country, you know. Okay? But they tried to force it on poor countries. Zimbabwe, okay? The Congo, South Africa has oil too. They force these things on these other parts, on these other nations. That's what it's talking about. He calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now let's prove that the mark represents the partaking in this Nimrodic sin. Let's prove that the mark represents sin. This is Psalms 130:3. If thou, Lord, shouldest what? Mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? And it's talking about the day of the Lord. Who shall stand in the day of the Lord? Those that are keeping the law. That's why when you read Revelations 14, it says, here are those that kept the commandments and faith in Christ. It didn't say here are those that turned down the microchip and all type of stuff and had to keep the law. And no, that's our only requirement. But I know that wasn't good enough for some of y'all. So let's get Job the 7th chapter. This is Job chapter 7 verse 20. I have sinned. What shall I do unto thee, O thou preserver of man? Why hast thou set me as a what? As a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself. You see, the mark is partaken in the Babylonian dominance or her sins. Whether you're participating in the Christmas, her holidays, all her holidays, okay, her politics. You vote in, you want to be a Democrat, Republican, you're partaking in that madness. Us as Israel, we're supposed to partake in none of this. That's why Titus says that we are to live holy even in this present world. Just because we're in this society doesn't mean that we have to do the things that the society says to do. Or just because homosexuality is allowed doesn't mean that you so-called blacks and Hispanics should go out and be gay now. Okay? We are to still keep the laws of our Father while we're in Babylon. Now, we read that they received the mark in their right hand. Okay? Now, in the hand already is what? Sin. All right? Let's get that by the way. Job chapter 11 verse 14. If iniquity be in thy hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacles. And that goes for the other nations. Tabernacle goes for the dwelling places. When the other nations partake and sign with the Council on Foreign Relations, or they sign with the UN and they take on the American policies in their countries, they're bringing the sins of America to them. And they're partaking in it. Now they're going to say, but what about the right hand? The right hand, even in America, when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, that's an example right there. When you say the Pledge of Allegiance, what hand do you use? When you go to the courtroom and they swear on the Bible, what hand do you use? The right hand represents oath. The nations who go to the Council on Foreign Relations or the United Nations, they sign over into Babylon's policies and they use their right hand. They make an oath. Let's get the book of 2 Maccabees to prove that the right hand represents oath. 2 Maccabees chapter 14 verse 32. And when they swear, okay, that's a point right there. And when they swear that they could not tell where the man was whom he sought, he stretched out his right hand toward the temple and what? And made an oath in this matter. So when you put your right hand out, that means an oath onto something. Okay? When you make an oath onto something that's allegiance, we're team now. Okay? This is why they call it the United Nations. All right? He stretched out his right hand toward the temple and made an oath in this manner. If ye will not deliver me Judas as a prisoner, I will lay this temple of God even with the ground, and I will break down the altar and erect a notable temple unto Bacchus. This is a heathen. But the point is that the other nations, when they say right hand, or in the scriptures, the right hand represents who you make a league with, who you're in agreement with. This is why when you read the scriptures, it said that Christ sitteth on what? The right hand of God. Okay? Meaning that Christ and the Most High are on one accord. Okay? The nations in America are on one accord. Okay? And they're following orders all from the Illuminati, Esau, the wise men of Edom. But then when you jump to the verse in Revelations 13, it says, the forehead. What is the forehead? What did the Lord tell Ezekiel in the 9th chapter? Go through the midst of the city and through the midst of Jerusalem and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sign and cry. This is the same mark that the elect have on their foreheads in the book of Revelations, the 14th chapter in the 1st verse. So you're telling me God's elect walking around with some type of Israelite Hebrew on their head? No, it's symbolic. Okay? It doesn't mean an actual thing in your forehead. It represents you adopting her philosophies. Okay? That's how come when you read, I believe it's Revelations 17 and verse 5, it says, what? Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. But at the end it says what? The mother of harlots and what? The abominations of the earth. So what is the name? The sin. Okay? The name of the wicked. Now, when we get to Revelations 13 and 17, it says that no man may buy or sell, say he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, what is buying and sell? Trading. Okay? When you buy something, you do it for gain. If I sell something, I'm doing it for gain. That's what it's talking about. Trading. Let's get the proof that buying and sell represents sinning with Esau for financial gain. This is an account in the book of Maccabees when the Gentiles was trying to force their way on Jerusalem. They was giving us a tough time. And this was during the famine. And it states this, 1 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 47. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so strict that they could neither come forth nor go into the country. What? Nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. So buying and sell is the want of gain. Okay, that's the term of buying and selling. But this buying and selling means making allegiance with Esau's system. Okay, with his new world order and sinning for it. Let's get another precept. Let's get on the book of Sirach in the Apocrypha. This is the book of Sirach, or the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 27, verse 1. Listen closely to this, because this right here is the nail of the coffin. It says, many have sinned. Okay, the other nations are sinning right now. What are the job of the other nations? To keep the law, statutes, and commandments through bowing down to the nation of Israel. That's why the Most High made that covenant with Abraham. Through your seed, all nations shall be blessed. I will bless him that blessed thee, and I will curse him that cursed thee. These nations, they're not participating. They're not trying to build up Jerusalem. They're not serving and being tributary towards the children of Israel. Instead, they put us in slavery, like what the book of Revelations, the 11th chapter said. Okay, they made wealth. Okay, and then they made an allegiance unto a new world order with Esau. So now they're guilty. Okay, they have committed sin. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 27, verse 1. Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance. Did not the scriptures say that the merchants of the earth shall wail and mourn when America's being destroyed? Because what? No man buyeth their merchandise anymore, which proves that America's Babylon, because America's a consuming economy. Okay, and that's how the nations make their money with that, through that petrodollar. Okay, through the petrodollar keeping dominancy, and through them trading through it. Okay, and through the new world order, and just trying to tally up all nations under this one world government. It says, many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance will turn away his eyes. As a nail sticketh fast between the joinings of the stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling. So when it says in Revelations that no man can buy or sell, save he that had the mark, meaning none of the nations could have traded, not unless they went through Esau, the new world order, Lucifer, which is the king of Babylon in Isaiah 14, which is Revelations chapter 14, in the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter, known as Babylon. Okay, you will be destroyed. Okay, you were forced to do financing with them. Okay, and this is for us. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown. And that's what's going to happen to the other nations. Their kingdoms are going to be overthrown because why? They're all partaking in the sins of Babylon. And these other nations are worshiping other gods, disrespecting the so-called Negroes, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. They calling us monkey and all type of stuff. So they got to pay. They got a debt to pay. So I hope you brothers have the true understanding of what the mark of the beast is. I tried to make it quick, straight to the point. All right, and it's not talking about no microchip. And for you brothers out there that is teaching, that is talking about a microchip, and out there in them corners screaming at people, the Lord's going to kill you and all that type of stuff. The FEMA concentrate will chop your head off. You need to repent, man. You need to repent, because when the Most High come back, you will be counted as a false prophet for not giving the people the true understanding. Okay, and for you brothers that disagree with me and do not think that what I said is the true breakdown, all the precepts that I give you, if you think that's still talking about a microchip, please just give me the precept. Show me Isaiah, Ezekiel, okay, King David writing about this chip, okay, and show me the connection. If not, you might have to realize that you're not speaking according to the word because you don't have no light in it. So with that, I'm giving all praises due to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his anointed, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. This is your brother, Ra signing out, and Shalom.